Thomas Friedman, three-time Pulitzer Prize winner, said, "You don't get to call yourself pro-life and oppose programs that provide basic education, health, and nutrition for the most disadvantaged children. The term pro-life should be a shorthand for respect for the sanctity of life. But I will not let that label apply to people for whom sanctity for life begins at conception and ends at birth. What about the rest of life? Respect for the sanctity of life, if you believe that it begins at conception, cannot end at birth." Abortion presents a massive challenge in our society. Mainly that we have justified the killing of innocent children, but also that our society fails to protect mothers and those raising children, and they feel that they have no other options than to proceed with an abortion. Now, I am a man and not a woman, but through research I think anyone is able to find the fundamental problems of our society that lead women to thinking that abortion is the best solution. I believe that everyone needs to come together and rally around a common solution to this issue. Now, we can squabble and argue about the morality of an abortion. I'm a firm believer in protecting the sanctity of life in all of its forms. But I think that we need to come together and see why people rely on abortions in the first place. And together we can find the problem and its causes and hopefully get to a solution. Today, abortion is a major problem with many negative impacts for women. In the year 2017, the Guttmacher Institute, which is the arm of research for Planned Parenthood, reported that there were 860,000 abortions, approximately 18% of pregnancies. They also report that 1 in 4 women will have had an abortion by the age of 45 in their most recent projections. There are also plenty of studies that show the mental health impacts on women who have had an abortion. In 2010, the Canadian Journal of Psychiatry did a study on 3,000 women in the United States, and here's what they found. They found that there was a 59% increase in risk for suicidal thoughts. There's a 61% increase in risk for anxiety disorders, a 261 and 280% increase in risk for alcohol and substance abuse, respectively, and a general 98% increase in risk for any mental health disorder for those who have had an abortion. Abortion patients are also at much higher risk for physical health impacts. A nationwide study in Taiwan completed by the Walters Kluwer Health in 2018 reported significantly higher risks for pelvic inflammatory disease, urinary tract infection, and EP, a type of pregnancy complication. Beyond mental and physical health impacts, there are also those who just simply regret their decision. 98% of women in post-abortion counseling now regret their decision to go through with an abortion. The data on how women feel is not concrete. It changes over time. A woman named Betsy responded in a post-abortion survey that her decision was the perfect decision, but later she reflected, and I quote, "I had an abortion when I was 22 years old. Now it is haunting me. I think about it every day of my life. I have so much regret. I wish I could turn the clock and undo my mistakes. I am not coping. The guilt is too much. At that time, the decision was perfect, but now it kills me day by day." So why do women feel so restricted and feel that abortion is the best answer for them? There's 2 major causes for this, the first of which is poverty. In 2014, 49% of abortions in the United States were by women who were below the poverty line. The International Reproductive Health Journal reports that socioeconomic reasons was the #1 response in their study of abortions across 13 developed nations. 56% of women who have an abortion in the United States say that they are not financially prepared. The next cause is insufficient contraceptive planning. The data that comes from the Lancet Global Health Journal, in partner with the UK government, reports that 92% of abortions were the result of an unintended pregnancy. The data suggests that failing to use contraception is a major cause of this problem. The Guttmacher Institute, through in-depth interviews, reports that the #1 response they got from women was that they felt they had no other choice and they lacked the resources necessary to support the birth of their child. Perhaps the dilemma is best described by a quote from the Sage Open Medical Journal. "The majority of the sample expressed relief while simultaneously experiencing the termination of the pregnancy as a loss coupled with feelings of grief and/or emptiness. So how can we address the need for resources to relieve people of their financial and other stress without the grief and emptiness that a termination of a pregnancy brings? Resources such as financial support and boosting education can better prevent abortions and support children and mothers through and after a pregnancy." The International Reproductive Health Journal from before also mentions in their report that those above the poverty line have access to paid maternity leave, access to contraception, and the ability to financially support a child. Improving the child tax credit, paid maternity leave, providing financial support, daycare, and education to children are all possible solutions to how we can combat the financial inability to raise a child. Another solution is boosting our education. The Lancet study from before all list improving contraception access and education as an effective method in reducing abortion rates. Developed nations that had improved access to contraception and education have significantly less unplanned pregnancy rates and abortion rates. One example is the Choice Initiative, which has had proven results in lowering unplanned pregnancy and abortion rates. Through their plan of education, women receive free counseling and free contraception. On this graph here, you'll see that abortion rates among sexually active teens are much higher than those who are part of the Choice program. 41 out of 1,000 surveyed had pregnancies that resulted in abortions, where those in the Choice program had a rate of just under 10 per 1,000. Finally, improving education means improving the socioeconomic status of a person. In undeveloped nations, those who do not have access to education have their socioeconomic status at risk. If we can help those receive education, we can improve the jobs they get, which in turn improves the financial stability of a person. Listen, the decision that women need to make is not an easy one and oftentimes not fair. They're faced with the financial burden of being unable to raise a child in this world, and oftentimes look to abortion for the answer. Unfortunately, that comes at the risk of mental and physical health, and oftentimes a decision that one may regret for the rest of your life. Our society needs to come together to rally around a common solution that improves access to contraceptives, it improves the education of women, and boosts the financial ability for women to raise a child in this world. Let us come together and protect the sanctity of life in all of its forms, from pre-birth to birth, from motherhood to the end of our lives. Thank you.